All right, so let's talk about some of the technologies that we're actually using to implement the digital signatures and electronic signature standards here in the state. The first is a self-generated certificate. Open up Microsoft Word. You can sign a document today for free with a digital signature that you create inside of Microsoft Word. You can do the same thing with Adobe Acrobat, as well as a number of other products. Doesn't really hold a lot of weight when you send it to a third party. They're like, well, I could have done that. I could have put your name into that signature. So it's what we call a low-level validation. Now, we are using this process at DHS. We have some document exchanges like I described earlier, where we exchange a large number of documents with a person. So we get a history of this signature, and we feel pretty sure that it really is them. An image of a wet signature. You see this a lot in people's email today, where they've signed a piece of paper, they've scanned it into their computer, and they've put it at the bottom of their email. Well, send me that email. I can copy that out, paste it in my own email, and sign for them. So not great, but it's what we have today with a regular document. And then the third being a signature on an electronic tablet. Best example of this is UPS comes in with a package and they want you to sign for it, right? They give you a tablet with an electronic pen and you sign on it and they leave. They don't really have any way of telling that that signature on that tablet really belonged to the person who should have had that package, unless they ask you for something more like a driver's license. Medium level validation. This is the type of technology we would use for processes such as doctor's prescriptions, things that we need to know who signed the document. You can go out to the internet and you can purchase a certificate from an online certificate authority, that's a CA. VeriSign, GeoTrust are a couple of good examples of those. They run anywhere from $20 up to $200 to $300. The price difference is based on two things: the length that certificate is good for, whether it's a 1-year, a 2-year, or a 4-year certificate, and then the process you had to go through to prove your identity. $20 certificate, they're just going to want your credit card number. $200 certificate, they're going to want to have a bond in your name, so they're going to want your driver's license, maybe want you to come visit a notary and send in a notarized statement. They're going to want some additional things done before they issue one of those. They're easy for third parties to acquire, so if you have customers or clients in the field who need to sign documents, it's easy to point them at VeriSign and say, go get a certificate. And there's nothing more you need to do to issue that certificate. That third party handles that for them. It is, however, difficult to manage when you have large numbers of internal users. So let's say you have 6,000 employees in your agency, and you want to buy them all digital certificates at $20 a piece. That's reasonable. 2 years, 4 years from now, when they start coming due, someone has to keep track of when each of them expires and make sure that employee goes and gets a new one before the old one expires. It becomes an administrative headache to try to do that if you have a large number of people. And the last one down here on the bottom, I have two examples of, is a wet signature with a corporate certificate applied above it. This is what happens when you go to Walmart today and you sign the signature pad. What's happening is the company that creates that signature pad is saying, okay, we're going to guarantee this document was signed by the person who applied that squiggly mark to that pad. So this technology is available for you today. You can buy these devices. They're about $300. Or you can get a piece of software that's about $100, load it on your tablet PC, take your PC out to a client, they read the document, they sign with the pen on the screen, and you have a pretty good assurance that the person who signed was the person who saw that document. You may not know who that person was, though, when you had them sign, right? You still want to get a driver's license or something from them to prove their identity. We're using this option on the left for medical reviews. When we go out to people's houses and review their medical records, we have them sign some paperwork, which then they get an email copy of. The device on the right is more like a member of the public comes into our office, they sit down at a computer, they read over an agreement, and they sign there at the desk, instead of us printing out the document, signing it, and then scanning it back into the system. Another important thing to note right here is that most digital signatures, when printed, are no longer valid. So when you print that document out that's been signed, there's no longer a way to verify that it's a good signature. So think about that before you jump into these technologies and you start accepting digital signatures. How are you going to store the documents? You can't print them out and put them in a file folder and expect to go back a year later and prove that person signed it. It certainly will not hold up in court if you do that. You have to store those electronic signatures electronically or digitally. The third option at this medium level is what we call the internal certificate authority. If you're a fairly large agency and you have a lot of employees who need to sign documents, you can install your own certificate authority. You become that trusted entity that says, I'm going to verify that Doris really is Doris. Now, that may mean that another agency is not going to trust you. They may say, well, I don't trust DHS to say that's Doris. So keep that in mind.
We would never say that.
So, I mean, but this is certainly useful inside your agency. You have another option. You can also go through a SAS 70 audit, and you can get your CA trusted by the worldwide network of CAs, trusted by the federal government, trusted by these internet CAs. It's about $20,000 to $25,000 to go through that SAS 70 audit on a yearly basis. You also need to pay money to another CA who will trust you on a yearly basis. So it is fairly expensive. Good thing about this is it automates the distribution of certificates. At DHS, keeping up with 6,000 people in certificates was very difficult for us. This option allowed us to automate that enrollment and that issuance of new certificates. We issue our certificates to a PC or to a smart card. So the certificate is on a laptop or on a desktop. The user logs in with their username and password, and that's what's required to sign a document. Or we give them a card like up here at the top. They can go to any of our computers, put that card in, and sign a document. And of course, as you issue more certificates, the price per certificate falls, because that's a fixed price. If you issue 50 or you issue 5,000, you're paying that same price. And then there's the high-level validation. You don't typically see this in client transactions. Where you may see this is on maybe a website that does e-commerce. They may want to go through a higher level of validation in order to get their certificate. And of course, it means it costs more. It also means it takes a lot more time to get your certificate. We do this for some of our publicly facing websites, and we're talking anywhere from 6, 7, 8 weeks to get a certificate instead of a few minutes online. So be aware that's available. And I'm open for any questions that you have about these technologies or any others you might have seen. There's a lot of stuff coming out today for digital signatures that we've not looked at yet because it's very young technology. So what questions do you have? We have a couple minutes. Okay, I'll be here at the end if you do.